actually started writing for the Ithacan before we even started in the fall. I knew the editor-in-chief my freshman year, Madison Fernandez, and got in touch with her over the summer because it was during COVID and I was super bored, and I was like, how soon can I start writing for the Ithacan? And she was like, well, you can start right now. And it was, I think, July, and the first article I wrote was about the print shop on campus and how they were using 3D printing to make masks.
My first story was talking about the pianist shortage in the School of Music, School of Music, Theater, and Dance now. And it was really fulfilling because at that time, the focus on the article was how the lack of graduate programs really impacted the shortage.
The first story that I did was about mice in dorm rooms, which I later learned is an evergreen Ithacan story.
I wrote a story for the sports section about these two Ithaca alum who were gonna bike across America, and one of them is blind, so they had like a special like tandem bicycle.
The first assignment I took was a portrait of Eleanor Kay, who's a former photo editor and managing editor, for her commentary on, I think, Study Abroad.
My favorite was probably for our sports preview this year. For the semester, we did, we had a softball player hit a water balloon like it's a softball, and so it like burst open and had like water all over the front, so it was supposed to be like a splash into spring, and that was a really fun idea with our sports editors, Billy and Flynn.
My favorite story that I've written was when I went and covered Eco Village. That was a really cool experience, especially as someone who hasn't done a lot of journalism like in the community or journalism at all. So it was kind of, I feel like, the first time I really wrote a story that I was really, really proud of and got to talk to people in the area who weren't necessarily associated with the college, which I thought was very cool. They also just have a very cool living space. I know I've said cool like 8 times in this sentence, but it's really how I feel.
I enjoy like getting to branch out more, and I think reporting, I would say like reporting on the local theaters in the community, like Cinemapolis and Cornell Cinema, and just like shedding a spotlight on some of those local theaters nearby, has been a really exciting way to still like talk about the arts and my love of film, but also shining a light on local theaters in the Ithaca community.
Definitely, I think the most rewarding was the Fall on Film photo essay, because it was like our 90th year of publication, and so I in spring of my sophomore year when I first got hired as assistant photo editor, I had always kind of been thinking like, oh, I think it'd be really cool to like do either a whole paper or do like a section of a paper like on film, because like the Ithacan is such like a well-known like news outlet, newspaper, and I just thought it would be cool to kind of like go back to like the roots of like photojournalism and like just the paper in general. So I was pretty stoked about that.
Overall, my favorite project has been kind of like helping to facilitate the switch to the bi-weekly schedule this year. That was a big project that took a lot of time and a lot of effort and a lot of like insight from everybody on the board. And I'm just like so proud of how that's gone and how we were able to kind of finally make that happen.
I love shooting Cortica. When it was 2021 Cortica, it was raining and cold and sleeting and very wet. But it was really fun. Like the environment was really fun to be in. It felt very like grown-up journalist because I was soaking wet with a camera and talking to people, and the spread looked fantastic, just absolutely fantastic. There was always an inside joke. Like every day, like we'd always have like little things on the computers or like stickers or like something that was an inside joke.
And Lorian was a news editor at the time, and she broke us up into pairs to work on her stories. And I wasn't talking about my story at all. I think I was talking about something. I was definitely talking about something else with Ryan, who's now the assistant news editor. And I was like, talking, and then Lorian comes by, and I panicked, and I was like, oh my god, look, how many sources, blah, 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 sources, article, sources, literally, like, I quoted, like, literally said, sources, article, and it was just a really silly moment, because Lorian, she's like, you're fine, but it was just so silly, and who doesn't like a nice, silly moment?
Well, I was just talking about last fall, I made a poster for recruitment night, and it was like news, and then I decorated it. But before I decorated it, there was a picture of me just holding up a white piece of paper which, as we all know, is meme fodder for the ages. And so Sid and Lorian, for a good few weeks, had a great time writing whatever they wanted on this sign of me. That was pretty funny.
So, very funny now, was not funny in the moment, but for one of the conferences, a few of us editors went out to DC, which was an awesome experience. It was so fun, and I had a friend who went to Washington, the college. So I went to visit them one night, and then I came back kind of late, and my two roommates at the time, which were Nolan Saunders and Aiden Chard, deadbolted our hotel door, and I could not get in, and I slept on the floor of the girls' hotel, which was Sid, Caitlin Holtzman, Lorian Tyne, and Eleanor Kay.
My co-editor Elizabeth and I were, we both lived in towers, so we would always walk back together. And we were walking past the campus center quad, and I feel like we thought we saw a ghost. I think it was like 1 a.m. and we were really tired after a long day. And it was just, I don't know, I kept thinking there was a ghost, or so it was just it was just one of those things where we were just so overtired. But it was just really fun, and just, getting to share those crazy experiences together.
So Mike and I had to go cover this book club event, and so we messaged the person being like, hey, this is at 6 Mile Creek Vineyard, right? And they responded saying yes. So we're like, okay, weird that it's off campus at a vineyard, but so we drive off campus to the vineyard. We're there. It's 7:15 and it starts at 7:30. I'm like, there's no lights in here. So Mike and I are waiting. It's like 7:30. I send just a random message into the Life channel. I'm like, damn, we're really being ghosted by this book club. And then Sarah, who is a former social media manager, she was like, are you talking about this book club? It's at 6 Mile Creek Room in CC.
The DC conference in the fall, we did a lot of scootering around on the Lime scooters, which was very fun and also scary at the same time, but we all survived.
Ash Baylot.
Ash Baylot.
The journalism department chair, Tim Mirabito.
Probably Malik.
Eleanor Kay.
Everyone here that I've worked with has made an impact on me.
Lorian, who's the news editor now, she's actually younger than me, which is always kind of strange because she was assistant news editor when I was a writer, and then co-assistant news editor when I was assistant news editor. And she taught me so much about how to be an assistant news editor and how to be a journalist, and also is one of my best friends.
Our good old editor-in-chief, Sid Pierre. She's one of my best friends, but I think more importantly, in terms of the Ithacan, I think she's just taken a lot of risks and really transformed the paper into something that not only values quality writing, but also the staff and the people around her.
Madison Fernandez, who was my editor-in-chief my freshman year, but she really took a lot of chances on me.
Honestly, kind of everyone, which I know is a little bit of a cop-out answer, but having not been on the board before this and coming into this and having such a supportive environment, and everyone has been very kind and very supportive, has been great. So I don't necessarily have an individual person, but of course Sid, Casey, Malik, Vivian, who was previously with me, and Mariana, who's currently assistant. Everyone has been very open, even people who I don't necessarily interact with on the job.
I think, honestly, as crazy as it sounds, the 2 a.m. Tuesdays when I was co-life and culture editor were really fun because there was just something a little unhinged about being in the room for a really extended period of time, just kind of working together to see the paper through, make sure that things were done.
What used to be 2 a.m. Tuesdays, we don't do those anymore. But just the time that I spent with some of my fellow editors in the back row, just because we would always find a way to make it fun and interesting, whether that was playing Uno with each other, or even just making stupid jokes and creating different little characters.
The conversations and memories you form with people, especially when you're all working towards the same goal, can be really rewarding. And just seeing, especially once you see the print at the end of the week and you just see it around campus, it's just always really rewarding.
Honestly, I still think about when the lounge furniture was put in here and we sat here for 4 hours and talked about music and movies. That was a really fun time, and I still think about that.
So 2 a.m. Tuesdays, where we're being held in here against our will, It wasn't fun at the time, but like thinking back on it now, I'm like, oh dang, that was kind of silly, goofy. I remember Malik and I raced. He went on his skateboard, but he could only go backwards, and then I was in one of these chairs, and we raced around Park because we got bored at one point.
I remember there was like a joke about like strawberries and cream was like a meme at the time, and how Elijah, who was the Life and Culture editor at the time, was like the little boy from the strawberries and cream video. But he probably wouldn't be happy about me saying that again. Like, I value it as like a career thing. Like, I feel like I can walk into anywhere now after graduation and be like, yeah, I've already done this. Like, I've already shot in the rain, I've already dealt with deadline, I've already dealt with crazy long nights, you know, in the office, so.
It's been a humbling experience, I think.
I mean, shout out to Claire Shanahan for being like, I want to start a podcast. And then the two of us just kind of ran with it from there. And she graduated in December, and I miss her every day. But it's so cool that I have a podcast that I mostly put out weekly.
I think overall it's been very fun. I know that this job comes with a lot of work, and it very much is proven to be a lot of work, but I think at the end of the day, seeing articles go up written by such talented writers and like seeing everything really come together, especially in a print edition, makes it all so worth it. And it's so cool to see, you know, what you work really hard on and what you work on with other people, and then when all the pieces come together.
Write the stories you want to write, and don't be afraid to do things and learn about things, and have fun, and don't take it too seriously all the time. Make sure people are laughing in the office.
Just go for it. Honestly, like if you have an interest in something, but you're worried about like experience or anything like that, just go for it.
I would say try to manage your time well. It can be very difficult at times, but it's definitely like one of the better things to like kind of keep on track with very early on. But also just to have fun. I think that I wouldn't like really enjoy what I do here or what I have done if it wasn't because I was having fun throughout it.
Don't be intimidated by, you know, certain kinds of stories. You know, if something interests you and you have a natural curiosity about a story or a beat that's happening on campus, or something that maybe isn't getting covered as much, don't be afraid to speak up about what you're interested in.
The biggest thing is just making the time to try other parts of the Ithacan, and also just multimedia at this school in general, because I think that the Ithacan has a lot to offer. Like, even if you're not into writing, you could take photos or take videos or do podcasts, or if you are really into writing but you're not in that section yet, it's very easy to pick up a story and get that experience. So I would definitely advise everyone to pick up stories and content in other sections, just to, I guess, really get the most of this experience.
Try to be as like multifaceted as possible. So like work for other sections, try doing video and photo, try doing podcasts, like just kind of dip your foot into everything, because I really only kind of stayed with photo, and I somewhat regret that.
Make sure that you have enough time to take on the projects, because otherwise it's just going to be very stressful. And there's the old saying goes, quality over quantity. So make sure you're doing high quality work and don't worry too much about the quantity.
Soak it all in, because it goes by really fast. And then you will be sitting here doing your senior video wondering where it all went. But it's been fun.